Welcome to episode 1.3 of the Riley Black Project with Crystal and John. It's the 0.3 because this is technically the third time we try to record this.
Yeah, it's episode number 1.
Right. So we've had some technical difficulties, and I'm to blame.
It's always his fault.
I'm John.
I'm Crystal.
And we are married, and
Yep.
you are the owner of
Riley Black Designs.
Hence Riley Black Project. So I guess episode 1 should be the story of Riley Black Designs and how it became. It's pretty interesting, and if anyone out there is listening that's planning to start a small business in laser cutting,
Right.
or I guess crafts is such a broad term.
Yeah.
But a small business, or thinking of venturing out, given
Or
these
just
times,
doing something they've always wanted to do.
a passion, following
Yeah,
a passion.
a passion. Something they like to do, but they're instead doing something that just pays bills.
Right. So this is your story, our story,
Yeah.
but it's not necessarily what the entire podcast is going to be about.
No. So the Riley Black Project is going to be more of it. I guess our tag is lasers, life, and all the ish in between. So it's it'll mostly be about lasers, just because that's mostly what I know and do right now. But there'll be some life and random stuff thrown in there as well.
Well, and that's where we hope to get most of our listeners. And I'll basically be the voice of the beginner,
The newbie.
as I don't really have anything to do with lasers aside from I help you.
Yeah, you help me with the technical stuff,
as much as I can.
the heavy stuff,
Power tools.
anything that requires a power tool. I have you do.
So I'm the hired help.
Yeah, but I don't pay you.
Right. So there's that. But yeah, so let's get into how it all
Alright.
started.
So, I've always been crafty. I loved making stuff. At a young age, I always did stuff with my mom. Just really miscellaneous stuff. I'd see something, I'd be like, oh, that looks cool. I'm going to try and make it. For a while, I sold those child growth charts.
Yeah, we have one that we've never used.
Yeah. Yeah, sitting in the corner of his room. We've
Right,
never
not
put
even
one
mounted properly.
measurement on it. No,
Because
not
what
mounted
is it?
at all.
6 inches off the ground for the accurate.
Yeah,
Is that what it
you
is?
started at 6 inches off so that you can. There's room for like baseboards and
Right.
whatever, but
For the
yeah.
measurement to be accurate.
Yep. So we haven't used it at all.
It looks
but
pretty cool though.
It does. I'm pretty proud of it.
Yeah.
And I was always like that person that, you'd go to a party or baby shower or wedding, and I would make whatever I was gifting. And it was always you made that? And I loved that reaction. And I would always, like, especially when I was making those growth charts, a lot of people were like, oh, are you on Etsy? You should be on Etsy. And I just didn't know if I really wanted to make a million growth charts, like if that was my thing. And I also was very intimidated by Etsy.
Yeah, I was gonna ask, what's the intimidation factor to like?
Just I didn't
going
understand it. I didn't know what it entailed. I was honestly, which is still the reason I don't sell a lot of physical products, because I was scared and didn't really want to deal with difficult customers, especially like strangers.
Right.
Because up until that point in my journey, I'd only really made stuff for friends and family. So, and it's easier to please them because I know them.
And there's a buffer.
Right. And so with strangers, there's not that. And a lot of times their expectations can be unreasonable or whatever. And so I was just really nervous about like opening myself up to that part of it. So anyway, I was always crafty, and I was pregnant with our first son, because I am also now pregnant with our second son.
Who remains nameless so far.
He does. We're still choosing. But I was pregnant with our first son, JR, and I really wanted to make him those funny and inappropriate onesies, but I didn't want to spend $25 on each one. And so in typical crafty person fashion, you go and spend $200 in materials so that you don't have to pay $25 for the item. And I bought my silhouette cameo. And then my first project was the Push It shirt, push it real good shirt that you wore in the delivery room.
Which was a hit.
It was. The nurses really and everyone loved it. And so after I had JR, then the friends and family requests started coming in. And then it just turned into that I was making a ton of shirts.
Which you loved.
I loved so much. Soon after it became like a thing, I loved being able to be creative as far as like the designs went and stuff like that, but I didn't love making shirts because it was a lot of work for not a lot of money. So, it was 4 hours worth of work, usually at least, of designing, cutting the vinyl, weeding it, and pressing the shirt, and then taking pictures and packaging it up and sending it out. And, it was only like a $20 profit after the shirt and the vinyl, if you were lucky. So, anyway, I continued to do it because it was a nice side income, and I did get to be creative and stuff. But I knew I wanted to do something else. And then at that point...
Well, just to interrupt, you also... This is a side, like 100% side project. You were working full-time.
Yeah, I was working full-time and going to school.
Right. So this was like your third side.
Right. So it was a lot. I was working full-time at a oil and gas company as an accounts payable person, specialist, whatever. And then I was also going to school part-time to get my bachelor's in finance. And then also...
To never use it.
I hate finance so much. It was a free degree because my company paid for it because it applied to what I was doing. And I wanted the degree, but I did not have any interest or passion for finance at all.
Well, I mean, you started... At the time that you started to go to school, it was to potentially...
just to open up
further in the company.
Right. But I also didn't know what I wanted to do at the time when I started with the company. I was 20 something, and it was a well-paying job, and it was like, okay, well, I guess this is my path. I'll do this. But it was not like I ever wanted to be in accounting. I didn't want to be an accountant. I didn't, it wasn't any of those things.
Well, and also to add to the story, because hopefully everyone who's listening knows Riley Black as being a Florida-based company. At this time, we're in Colorado.
Still in Colorado. So we were, at that point then, deciding to move to Florida. You got an opportunity to come back home because you're from here. And I was then faced with the question of what am I going to do?
A massive overhaul of the company you worked for, which went from being fun to dreading going in every day.
Yeah, I used to... my boss was amazing.
Shout out.
Yeah, Christy Conover. I love her. So she was super amazing. I loved working for her. We had a good group of, women, and, we worked well. And then a round of layoffs happened, and all but 2 of our entire Denver-based accounting group was let go. And that was me and one other person, Dana, who's also super amazing. And it just was no longer fun. The whole dynamic of the company changed. You know, we were
the holiday party left.
The holiday parties were over. Just management was difficult, and it was just hard being the two people in another state. You know, we were always kind of like left out. We weren't, you know, we didn't have a group of our own, whatever. So everything changed. I no longer loved where I was working. And in Florida, there's no oil and gas, really. So that wasn't really an option. And even if it was, I kind of wanted to take this as my chance, my forced chance of starting over. I'm literally having to start over. I want to...
Might as well start over
doing something I actually really want and like to do. Professionally, I wanted to take this opportunity as, okay, like, now let's try it, let's see how it goes, and hope for the best. And before we had moved to Florida, someone in one of my silhouette groups had shown what they made with a Glowforge. And I was like, ooh, what's this? And I was very intrigued, and I looked it up. I had never heard about lasers. I didn't even know that they existed. I didn't know what they did. I started, you know, researching them. I joined a whole bunch of Glowforge groups on Facebook and started, like, watching all the projects. I'd ask questions here and there. I found out I could still use my silhouette design program to then make laser designs. And I was very excited about that because it didn't mean I had to learn a whole new program along with learning a whole new machine. And
for those of you that are married, she did all of this without letting on to me.
I don't know. I'm surprised
she schemed this laser all by herself. I was none the wiser. And not until we moved to Florida, hey babe, there's this laser thing that's pretty cool that we should look at.
Making up lies, because I don't think I
had never heard of Glowforge till we moved to Florida,
which is not how I remember it at all. And we were in the house
for a few weeks.
It's not how I remember it. But
the only thing I knew was that big cabinet thing that you wanted. What was it called? The Dream Box or something?
No, yeah, it's called the Dream Box.
See?
Man, now I forget what the brand or whatever was.
Right,
but
and
yeah,
it was for your Cameo.
Super amazing.
And all your vinyl and all your weeding tools.
Organizer.
Yeah, that's the only thing I knew. And I was like on board to buy you when we were planning where to put it.
That's true. We knew. We measured and everything.
The whole time, you're part of Glowforge groups. You're looking at this Glowforge, and both do not fit in what was to be your work area.
No, they didn't.
Here I am thinking I should have been happy. It was only, what was it, like $2,000?
Yeah, it was for like $1,500,
yeah,
$2,000.
And I was stressing over that. And meanwhile, you're looking at a $4,000 laser.
Whatever. So
you're looking at this laser behind our back in Colorado.
You're so dramatic. So anyway, I was very nervous about it because it was such a large investment, and we were going to have, some money left over from the sale of our Colorado home, but we were going from 2 very decent incomes to 1 income at the time. So
we were literally in half.
Yeah.
Cutting it in half.
Totally.
Maybe
even a little
less than half.
Yeah. So I was very nervous about financially purchasing something so expensive, but it kind of lit the fire that I definitely lost in doing 1 million t-shirts.
Right, because you almost go to having to make it work.
Yeah.
If for nothing else,
it gave me a lot of anxiety, and it was just not
to make that 4,000 back. Mm-hmm, and then if nothing else, then at least it wasn't like a loss, if you want to say.
Right. So, me, my mom, and my sister actually had a girls' day, and during that girls' day, we all had separate spiritual readings.
This wasn't held back. I remember that spiritual reading.
And
no mention of Glowforge.
shut up. I still think you're making stuff up. And so I mentioned that I was considering it, but that I was really scared to make this investment. And, you know, because you and I aren't always the best at buying something and making
we're
sure
the best
that
at buying stuff,
but not
using
then
it.
following through
Right.
with actually using it. And
Right,
so
we'll buy shiny new toys.
exactly, I was scared about spending all this money and then it not working how I think, or you know, it's harder than I think, or whatever. So I asked, you know, kind of in the reading, and they're like, you know, no, we see it being successful. It's going to be hard, but that, you know, it's going to be successful. And it's like, okay, like that I didn't take that as like, oh, okay, this is going to be amazing, but it just kind of, it helped to relieve the fears a little bit, and that as long as I work hard, it will pay off. So then we move out here, and we moved out here at the end of August, and in October is when I purchased the Glowforge. And it arrived towards the end of October, and it didn't work.
Now, also, to give some insight,
Yeah.
we're talking about moving out here and starting, you know, making t-shirts and everything. This is only a matter of months. This isn't long time, because JR was born in July, and you had made the shirt before then, so you were making stuff like in June.
Yeah, but I mean, my first shirt was...
He was also a year, so it was it was about a year making shirts. Never mind.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I made shirts for a year, and then I bought the laser.
You bought the laser, yeah. So yeah, the first one didn't work. Dead on arrival.
Yeah.
Talking about it was overheating, and we were in Florida. You were already worried about the weather.
I bought the middle ground laser because it had higher temperature allowances, because I was already worried about Florida. Like, we keep our house at 75, and I think technically the laser likes it, you know, at least 75. So I was worried about, you know, it working with hot ass Florida. And so then it showed up, and then we were getting all these like temperature readings and stuff, and we couldn't get them. Like, even putting one of those portable AC units
we
directly on it didn't fix it.
We lifted it up from what the dresser was sitting on to let more airflow.
Yeah.
We put an AC.
Yeah.
We did everything, and this thing was not wanting to work.
No. So Glowforge then told us the unfortunate news that they were going to have to replace it. And so we packed it all up. We waited a couple weeks for the new one to show up. Set that one up all over again, and then this one worked, thankfully.
Yeah, you made some pretty crazy stuff the first like few projects.
Yeah, my first project was literally just an engraved sign design, because I wanted to try it out on like basically MDF. It wasn't pretty, it wasn't anything crazy, but I just wanted to try things. And then I made a couple other basic stuff, and then I went crazy and made a 3D LED lit up submarine porthole sign for my friend who was pregnant,
which came out pretty cool.
It's pretty awesome. I'm still pretty proud of that one. But it took me forever. I mean, it took me days and days and days of trial and error and screwing it up and figuring it out, and then
going back to the drawing board almost.
I started over many times on that project. But yeah, I really became to have a love for it. I really, really liked doing it, and I would have these crazy ideas in my head, and I wouldn't know. It's kind of annoying.
It's the AC. What are we gonna do?
So, you know, I would have these crazy ideas in my head, and I wouldn't necessarily know how to make them happen, but I I knew what I wanted to do. And then the hard part was, how do I make it so that it looks how it looks in my head? So I made signs, did a lot of trial and error, kind of figured out, what I like to do. What I thought I wanted to do was those name nursery signs.
Right, those were big for a minute.
They're still big. They're still very popular.
Well, I mean, for you.
But I don't love them anymore. I don't mind them. They're not hard. But I don't, look forward to making those. Those aren't the ones that I'm like, ooh, yeah, this is going to be cool.
And I think that's going to be, you're going to find, because from the outside looking in, I see it that when it's the part of it for you is the challenge of the project.
Yeah.
Once you've made a few of them, you get bored and you no longer necessarily like doing those.
Yeah.
Because you already have a rhythm for it and you're no longer 100% challenged.
Right. I think so too. So I shifted from that and then just really kind of tried a bunch of miscellaneous random things. And then soon after, I realized I really like designs. I was getting a lot of people asking oh, do you sell this, or how did you make this, or I'd love to buy this file, and I just didn't really know how to do that or what went into it. And my mentor and laser bestie Heather, I met her.
Shout out to Lobo Design.
Right, I met her about a year into my journey, a year and a half. And she had just started her Etsy, I think a month or two before me. And so it kind of gave me the confidence to then try it myself, because she had signed up, she knew what to do. It wasn't as scary because, I had her to tell me about it. And so I started my Etsy shop for digital files at the end of April. I think my first sale was actually in May of last year. And as of today, I'm at 40, almost 4,700 sales, so almost 5,000 sales in my Etsy shop of just digital designs.
And on a new machine.
Yes, and so the success of my Etsy shop made it so that I could then save up, and I could upgrade my machine because my Glowforge was now nearing 2 years of age, and it was starting to frustrate me. Just random, it wouldn't work how I wanted it to all the time. It was slow. It wasn't super consistent when cutting through materials, and so it was just I was getting very frustrated with it. It did serve me well for those 2 years, but it was time for something new, bigger and better. And so I saved up with my Etsy sales and purchased an Aeon Mira 9, and put the money down in July, and it was delivered mid-December. So I've had the Mira for about 4 months. And yeah, I think that's pretty much
the story of
Riley Black's story.
From the beginning to present.
I started making shirts and then got a laser because I wanted to make the nursery signs, and that turned into me actually finding that I love designing more than actually making the items. I enjoy the design part a lot more. And so my 2021 kind of goal is to focus more on the design part and only make a few physical products for friends and family, and then also when testing my designs, but it'll be mostly digital for this year.
So let's just kind of take a step back for people like really listening. How much internal frustration or scariness was it to actually leave a career?
Oh, it was terrifying.
To follow your passion.
It was terrifying, but what helped make it less scary was that it wasn't like you were leaving everything and we were doing everything because I wanted to, start this laser business. It was kind of like you wanted to go back home and I wanted the change, and so I welcomed this, move. And so it was more like let's try, why not? Here's my opportunity to try it. And so I think that helped take away some of the pressure, and that either I was going to potentially try and actually like be a stay-at-home mom, which is again something I never really strived or wanted to be. But it was like, let's try this and let's see how it goes, and then worst case scenario, I'll find something else. But I knew at that point that I only wanted to work somewhere where I actually enjoyed being there. We spend so much time working, and why spend 8 to 10 to 12 hours of your day, more time than you spend at home with your family and your kids and your husband and whatever, being miserable or unhappy. So
Right.
I at the very least, even if this failed, I knew that I wanted to work somewhere where I enjoyed working, even if it meant less money. I really just wanted, what helped again eliminate some of the pressure was, I just wanted to make enough money so that we could pay our bills. I didn't care about making 50, 60, 70 plus thousand a year. I didn't care about that number. I just wanted to make enough so that we were okay. We could pay our bills,
Right.
and then a little bit extra would be fantastic. So it was terrifying for sure, but it helped that it was kind of like,
And for the
you had a job.
right, for the record, 2.5 years in, and we finally made that mark. So for those of you out there starting and
that's the other thing
and
too,
find
is that
yourself kind of like,
and it can
don't know
happen
what-
faster, but it can also take longer. I mean,
Right.
it all depends on your skill, your dedication, the money you have.
and what you're making.
Yeah, exactly.
Because
It's there's so
watch
many
bands
factors.
were super hot until Apple got involved.
Right, which thankfully I mostly just made the designs for them, so it didn't affect me too terribly much. But yeah, the patent on the bands that everyone was selling kind of put a damper on things.
That'll be a story for another podcast.
Right. But yeah, I mean, it helped that you had a job. We knew we could at least pay our bills. But yeah, it took 2.5 years to get to the point where I made pretty decent money last year, and it on designs and
Right, and then
laser
the year
made goods.
before that, it basically sustained itself, which is, I think, pretty rare for small businesses.
mean?
Well, like all the materials and everything,
Yeah.
of all that money for that stuff came from your
Right, so
sales within the business. So
what I
Riley
did-
Black paid itself.
Correct. So what I did after, so I bought the laser in October, November-ish of, what was that, 18?
Yeah.
And then July 2019 is when I finally registered, opened a bank account, did all that. Because until then, I didn't have a good picture of if I was actually profitable or not, because it was all mixed in with our normal checking account. Like, I would buy, materials and stuff like that from our main account, but then I'd also get paid into that same account. So I couldn't really tell if I was making money. What was that?
Something outside.
So as soon as I got the business account, then everything was 100% purchased from the business. And so if I had money in my account, then it was profitable, basically, to, dumbing it down a lot. But it helped me see, seeing my bank account grow was telling me, oh, okay, I'm doing something
There's something
right.
here.
Yeah, something's working.
Right.
Yeah, so it's grown quite a bit, and who knows what it'll grow into in the next few years, because I definitely didn't see it turning into this. I mean, I have, almost 5,000 sales on Etsy, and I also manage, I don't know how many, four or five Facebook groups.
without like really knowing anything about the, I guess you can say industry,
I
or
didn't know anything about lasers.
Without knowing too much about it from the outside, between conversations I hear you having with Heather and other, I guess you call it influencers, other small businesses or whatever, you guys seem to kind of are the go-to people now. You started as you started from the bottom, now you're here. Right. Essentially is what I'm trying to say. Like, you started yourself, taught yourself, you know, you learned everything yourself, and you're still
I didn't
learning.
Know anyone. I had no friends, no family, no acquaintances, no anything who knew anything about lasers before I purchased mine.
And now it seems like people are coming to you for answers. How does that feel?
It's weird. It's strange. I mean, I just got a compliment the other day, yesterday, on my designs, and it's still so weird to me that people that I have people that follow my designs, that are looking forward to new designs, who come to me for, how do I do this? What's your advice? Like, that's still just, it's strange to me. I don't know if that'll ever be normal to me at any point, but yeah, I have 2 or 3 friends now who have purchased Glowforges because they've seen, you know, what I've done and made, and, you know, they were crafty and had an interest in that stuff as well, and were kind of drawn to it. So yeah.
And hopefully this serves as, for those of you who are maybe intimidated to reach out to you, they can listen here and kind of get an insight and maybe answer some questions. That's the hope of this podcast, and we'll
make it less scary.
Yeah, and hopefully have you know, Heather come on.
Yes.
And talk with us and other people, and from
Emily, mom with a laser.
Shouts out to Emily for watching our pig during this last storm.
Oh my God! Right.
But yeah. So this was fun.
Yeah.
It went pretty well.
Hopefully this one actually recorded.
Right. It looks like it did. It should be okay. And I look forward to catching us every week right here. And yeah, that's it for episode 1 of the Riley Black Project with Crystal and John.
Yep.
Later.
Bye.